Ever pondered the eerie origins of Halloween traditions? Why the costumes, the carved pumpkins, the trick-or-treating? Come, let's embark on a spooky yet fun journey back in time, to the mystifying beginnings of Halloween. Our tale commences with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, celebrated from October 31st to November 1st. This was no ordinary fall festival. It was a time when the Celts believed the boundaries between our world and the spirit world blurred. As the leaves fell and winter's chill began to seep in, they imagined the veil between the physical and spirit realms thinning, enabling interactions between humans and the beings of the other world. Picture a time when nights grew longer, days shorter, the harvest was in, and the earth was bracing for the harsh winter. Samhain marked this pivotal moment, signaling the end of the harvest and the onset of the darker half of the year. To the Celts, this wasn't just a seasonal shift, but a liminal time when the usual cosmic order flipped. Bonfires were ignited, not merely for warmth, but as beacons to guide spirits or deter any malevolent entities that might slip through from the other world. Costumes were worn, not for amusement, but as a form of protection, disguising themselves from any spirits that might bring harm. So, when you're donning your superhero, witch, or ghost costume, remember, you're partaking in a tradition that spans over 2,000 years. And that pumpkin you're carving? It's not just a fun activity, but a modern echo of the ancient bonfires, a light in the darkness, a beacon for the spirits. So, the next time you're carving a pumpkin or dressing up in a spooky costume, remember, you're participating in a tradition that's been around for millennia. Let's delve into how a pagan festival morphed into the Halloween we know today. The answer lies in the spread of Christianity. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III made a significant move that forever altered the face of Samhain, the ancient Celtic festival. Recognizing the tradition's grip on the people, he chose to shape it rather than erase it. He designated November 1st as a day to honor All Saints, a celebration that came to be known as All Saints' Day. This was not a random choice. Pope Gregory III was strategic, selecting a date that aligned with the time of Samhain. This clever move allowed the Church to incorporate some of Samhain's traditions into this new Christian festival. For instance, the lighting of bonfires and wearing of costumes, originally intended to ward off ghosts, were integrated into the All Saints' Day celebrations. This fusion of cultures and traditions was not an instant process, but a gradual one. Over time, the influence of Christianity grew stronger, and the older Celtic rites began to fade. The Church's adaptation of local customs was a common strategy in their mission to spread Christianity, and in this case it resulted in the transformation of a pagan festival into a Christian celebration. But the story didn't end there. The eve of All Saints' Day took on a life of its own. Known as All Hallows' Eve and later Halloween, it became a time of merriment and mischief, with echoes of its pagan past. The tradition of dressing up in costumes and going door to door, much like the ancient Samhain practices, found a place in these celebrations. So, from a Celtic festival warding off ghosts, Halloween was transformed into a Christian celebration honoring saints. But even as it evolved and adapted, it never completely lost its roots in the mystical and the supernatural. Halloween crossed the Atlantic and landed in America, where it took on a unique character. But how did it become the holiday we know and love today? Well, Halloween's American journey began on a modest note. In the early days of colonial New England, Halloween celebrations were scarce due to the region's strict Protestant beliefs. But as America became a melting pot of cultures, Halloween began to change. A significant shift occurred with a wave of Irish immigrants in the mid-19th century. Fleeing the potato famine in their homeland, the Irish brought with them their rich cultural traditions, including the celebration of Halloween. With their arrival, Halloween started to gain traction on American soil. One of the most enduring traditions they introduced was guising, or souling, which involved dressing up in costumes and going from door to door. The children would offer prayers for the dead in exchange for soul cakes. Over time, this practice evolved into what we now know as trick-or-treating. Children dress up, knock on doors, and instead of prayers, they shout, "Trick or treat," hoping to fill their bags with candy. By the late 1800s, Halloween parties were becoming the norm. People would gather for an evening of games, foods, and fun. These celebrations were a community affair, a time for neighbors to socialize and enjoy each other's company. But there was a concerted effort to remove the superstitious and religious elements from Halloween. The holiday was reshaped into a community-centered event, focusing more on neighborly get-togethers and family-friendly activities. Halloween was transitioning from a night of fear and superstitions to a celebration of community and camaraderie. And that's how Halloween evolved from a somber pagan ritual to a day of merriment, costumes, and sweet treats. Let's look at how Halloween transformed from a pagan ritual to a commercial extravaganza. We've journeyed through the origins of Halloween, seen how this annual celebration, once a solemn Celtic festival of Samhain, transformed over centuries and across continents. A night when the veil between the physical and spiritual realm thinned, where bonfires were lit and costumes worn to keep away wandering spirits, has evolved into a night of fun, costumes, and candy. The ancient festival of Samhain, a time to welcome the harvest and the darker half of the year, was intertwined with the Christian holy day of All Saints' Day. The fusion of these two traditions gave rise to a unique holiday, a blend of old and new, of pagan and Christian. The Church's influence helped shape the holiday, but the ancient Celtic rites were never completely forgotten. The story of Halloween took a turn with its arrival on American shores. Once limited in its celebration due to the stern nature of colonial New England, the influx of immigrants, particularly the Irish, brought with them their rich traditions and customs. Halloween found new life, morphing into a community-centered holiday. Costumes, trick-or-treating, and the beloved tradition of carving jack-o'-lanterns became popularized as part of the Halloween tradition. And then, of course, there's the commercialization of Halloween. What was once a day of spiritual significance has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. From costumes to candy, decorations to Halloween-themed movies, the commercial aspect of Halloween has grown exponentially, making it one of the most lucrative holidays of the year. Who knew that our beloved Halloween had such a rich and diverse history? So as you don your costumes and head out for some trick-or-treating, remember the centuries-old traditions that have shaped this unique holiday. Happy Halloween, everyone!
Thank you for watching. Hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. We do like to know and hear your feedback. And if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where we post bonus material. Till next time, this is Geeky Tidbits, saying cheers, and have a good day.